New horror story. The medical experiment that opened hell. My name is Dr. Marcus Holt, and I should have died 25 years ago in the Blackwater Research Facility. Instead, I survived to tell you what really happened in 1999, and why Elena Vasquez returned to that cursed place just 3 weeks ago in October of 2024. I was 38 years old in March of 1999, with 2 young children at home and a promising career in neurological research. The Blackwater Research Facility had recruited me for what they claimed was a breakthrough study on neural resonance patterns and depression treatment. I believed them. God help me, I believed every lie they told us. The truth was far more sinister. Dr. Marcus Webb, our project director, had discovered something in manuscripts recovered from a demolished monastery in Romania. Ancient texts spoke of the 13th frequency, a sound that could open doorways between worlds. The Romanian monks had used this vibration to commune with entities that dwelt in the spaces between reality, but every single monk had died horribly in the process. Webb convinced the military that we could weaponize this frequency, use it to drive enemy forces to madness. What he kept hidden were the blood-written warnings in those manuscripts. The monks who first discovered the frequency had sealed something unspeakable beneath their monastery, something that should never be awakened. The experiment began on March 5, 1999. I was designated as Subject 3, though I didn't understand what that meant until it was too late. For the first 72 hours, we exposed test subjects to carefully calibrated frequency patterns while monitoring their brain activity. Everything seemed normal, clinical, scientific. Then the humming started. On our 72, something changed inside my mind. I began scratching compulsively around my eye sockets, but I wasn't just scratching. My fingers moved with surgical precision, carving symbols into my flesh. Ancient sigils that somehow felt familiar, as if my hands remembered patterns my conscious mind had never learned. Throughout this self-mutilation, I hummed the same 6-note sequence over and over again. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, a lullaby I don't remember ever learning, played at exactly 120 beats per minute. But there was something else woven into those notes, something that made the fluorescent lights flicker and caused frost to form on the windows despite the March warmth outside. By hour 73, I had broken free from my restraints with strength that shouldn't have been possible. Security found me in the bathroom, attempting to remove my left eye with a shard of broken mirror. I needed to make room, you see. Something beautiful wanted to look through my socket, something that had been waiting in the cold darkness between worlds for centuries. When they sedated me, I spoke in languages that predated human civilization. The words burned my throat as I uttered them, but I couldn't stop. The entity speaking through me was negotiating, making arrangements for what was to come. Dr. Sarah Chen succumbed next. I watched from my restraints as she clawed frantically at her neck in Corridor 7, conversing with invisible presences that left footprints of frost wherever they stepped. She wasn't trying to stop any humming. She was trying to make room for something else, carving out space in her throat for a voice that wasn't her own. When I found Sarah collapsed in a pool of blood 3 days later, her final words were spoken in perfect ancient Aramaic. "It needs a vessel," she whispered. "It's so cold where it comes from." The horror escalated throughout that nightmarish March of 1999. Dr. James Morrison began peeling off his entire face in methodical strips, explaining that his human features were a prison for something magnificent trying to emerge. The symbols he carved into his exposed muscle tissue seemed to writhe and move when observed peripherally. Rebecca Walsh, one of our security guards, used a coat hanger to puncture her eardrums. But she wasn't trying to stop hearing anything. She was trying to let something in. When the metal pierced her tympanic membrane, witnesses swore they heard 2 voices screaming from her throat simultaneously. 22 people died during those 3 weeks in March 1999. Each death was preceded by the carving of symbols, conversations with invisible entities, and an overwhelming compulsion to modify their bodies for habitation by something from beyond our reality. Only Elena Vasquez and I survived, though I use that term loosely. Elena seemed completely immune to the demonic influence that drove the rest of us to possession and self-destruction. I survived only because the entity speaking through me made a bargain with something even more ancient and powerful. For 25 years, from 1999 to 2024, I lived with the knowledge of what we had unleashed. Elena walked freely through the world, and I assumed she had simply been lucky enough to resist whatever evil we had accidentally summoned. I was wrong about everything. 3 weeks ago, in October of 2024, Elena returned to the abandoned Blackwater facility. She had discovered the truth in a memo hidden in her old office, a document that revealed her unique bloodline. Elena's ancestry traced back to Romanian monks who had served as guardians for the entity imprisoned beneath their monastery. She wasn't immune to the demonic influence. She was its chosen vessel, bred across generations to serve as the perfect host. But that wasn't the complete truth either. Following Elena back to Blackwater in 2024, I witnessed something that shattered everything I thought I understood. The basement levels of our facility had been constructed directly over ruins that predated European settlement by thousands of years. The Native Americans who once lived here had called it the Hungry Dark, a place where something unspeakable had been bound by shamans who paid with their lives to contain it. In the deepest basement level, Elena found them. Dozens of children, perfectly preserved since the monastery's final days, their eyes black not from possession but from the strain of maintaining weakening mystical bonds. They had been humming for centuries, not to spread demonic influence, but to reinforce a prison that held something far worse than any demon. The experiments at Blackwater hadn't accidentally summoned anything. They had been orchestrated by the imprisoned entity itself, manipulating human greed and curiosity to bring Elena back to her ancestral duty as a guardian. As I watched Elena join her voice to the children's chorus in that basement chamber, I finally understood the terrible truth. The humming wasn't summoning something from another realm. It was keeping something already here from breaking free. The melody was a binding song, that same lullaby I don't remember ever learning, holding in check an entity so ancient and malevolent that its release would mean the end of human consciousness itself. The researchers in 1999 thought they were opening a door to power. Instead, we had nearly shattered the lock on humanity's greatest nightmare. Elena sings now with the voices of the children, adding her strength to theirs, maintaining a vigil that can never end. Above them, the entity rages against its bonds, sending tremors through the earth that register as earthquakes hundreds of miles away. I return to that basement every week, bringing Elena food and water, ensuring she can continue her sacred duty. The children acknowledge me with their ancient eyes, recognizing the entity that still lives inside my skull, the one that made the bargain for my survival 25 years ago. You see, I didn't really survive the 1999 experiment. Something else is wearing my face now, something that serves as a guardian for the guardians. Every week when I visit Elena, the thing inside me grows stronger, more coherent, preparing for the day when Elena's voice finally gives out. The only question that remains is whether I'll be strong enough to take her place when that day comes, or if the lullaby will finally fall silent and wake something that should sleep forever. The humming never stops. It can never stop. And now you've heard about it, which means you're a part of the song too. Thank you for listening. If you really like the story, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more daily horror stories. Thanks.